to my channel Edify Learners. In this video, we will discuss the important concepts of physics for the upcoming SSLC examination 2021. So let's start with the important definitions. The first important definition of physics is electric circuit. What do you mean by electric circuit? There are two things that you need to understand and remember in electric circuit. First thing is it is continuous. Okay, and second thing is it is closed. Continuous and closed path of an electric current. Electric circuit is nothing but continuous and closed path of an electric current is called as electric circuit. Okay, moving on to the second definition, that is Ohm's law. What do you mean by Ohm's law? Now this part, how you can remember is, you can write down that the potential difference in an electric circuit, the potential difference in an electric circuit is directly proportional to the current, provided, now this is important, provided temperature remains same. Okay, so the condition, what it is, the condition is provided the temperature remains same. So the Ohm's law states that potential difference in an electric circuit is directly proportional to current provided temperature remains same. Now moving on to the third important definition. What do you mean by refraction? Okay, so it's a phenomenon. It's a phenomenon where the direction of light changes when it travels from one medium to another medium. So refraction is a phenomenon where the direction of light changes when it travels from one medium to another medium. Okay, so based on this you may have a application based question also or diagram based question also. So you have to understand this definition, and whenever the diagram is given to you, you have to understand it and you have to correct the option. Now fourth important definition in physics is power of lens. What do you mean by power of lens? Now the answer for this is, it is defined as the reciprocal of its focal length. So it is defined as reciprocal of its focal length. Now this formula we can give it as P is equal to 1 by F. This is important. P is equal to 1 by F. Therefore power of lens is nothing but P, and 1 by F is nothing but the reciprocal of its focal length. Now coming to important points, these are the important definitions. 4 definitions I have given you. What do you mean by electric circuit? What do you mean by Ohm's law? What do you mean by refraction? And what do you mean by power of lens? Now let's discuss the important points. Important points in that first one is about ammeter. Now what is it you have to remember about the ammeter? Ammeter, it is always connected in series. It is always connected in series. Okay, whereas voltmeter is always connected in parallel. Is always connected in parallel. Okay, this is one of the most important concept that you need to understand here, that ammeter, it is always connected in series and voltmeter is always connected in parallel. Now moving to the second important point, what you need to remember. The second point that you have to remember is about the resistance in series. Resistance in series, and it is given by Rs. So how will you define that, or how will you put down in the formula? So Rs is given as R1 plus R2 plus R3, and it goes on. So resistance in series is always given in the formula R1 plus R2 plus R3. Now in the same way, let's move on to the resistance in parallel. Now what is that you need to remember in the resistance in parallel? Resistance in parallel is given by Rp. Okay, so therefore it will be 1 by Rp. Let me change the ink color. 1 by Rp is equal to 1 by R1 plus 1 by R2 plus 1 by R3, and it will go on. Okay. Next, what are the factors that depends for resistance? So that part. Now the resistance of a conductor. Resistance of a conductor depends directly on its length. Okay, resistance of a conductor depends directly on its length. Okay, first point, it depends directly on its length. Second is inversely on its area of cross section. Inversely on its area of cross section. And nature of material. Nature of material. So there are three things that a resistance of a conductor depends on: directly on its length, inversely on its area of cross section, and nature of material. Now the fifth point, what you are going to remember. The fifth point is about direction of current. Now conventionally, if you see, conventionally, the direction of current is taken opposite to the direction of flow of electrons. So it is always opposite. It is always taken opposite. It is taken opposite to the direction of flow of electrons. Flow of electrons. Okay. Now coming to properties of magnetic fields. Let's move on to the properties of magnetic field lines. Properties of magnetic field lines. Now let us see what are important things that you need to remember in this. So first point, what you are going to remember in this is that the magnetic field lines emerge from North Pole and merge at South Pole. So first thing that you need to remember is always the magnetic field lines, they emerge from North Pole. They emerge from North Pole and merge at South Pole. They merge at South Pole. So this is one important thing that you need to remember, that magnetic field always emerges from North Pole and it merges at South Pole. Okay, so first thing that you need to remember in this. Second point that what you have to remember here is, they always form closed path. They always form closed path. So whenever the magnetic field is created, it is created in a closed path. It is never in a open path. And third point that you need to remember here is magnetic field lines. Magnetic field lines, they never intersect. Okay, they do not intersect. Okay, the next point that you have to remember is, the field lines inside the solenoid are in the form of parallel straight lines. This indicates that magnetic field is same at all points inside the solenoid. So what you have to remember here is, the field lines that are created in the solenoid, the field lines that are inside the solenoid, are in the form of parallel straight line, parallel straight line. This shows, or this indicates, that the magnetic field, is same at all points inside the solenoid. So it is same at all points inside the solenoid. Okay, so why do you justify this? How do you justify this? In the way that the field lines that are created inside the solenoid, they are in the form of parallel straight lines. Therefore, this shows that the magnetic field is as same as at all points inside the solenoid. Okay, so this is one important thing that you need to remember. Next, coming to the next concept. The next concept is, in our country, the potential difference between the two is always 220 volts. Okay, so in our country, the potential difference between the two is always 220 volts. Okay, now 15 ampere okay, so 15 ampere current is 15 ampere current rating for higher rating appliances like geysers, coolers, etc. So 15 ampere current is used for geysers, coolers, etc. Okay, whereas 5 amperes current is used in bulbs, fans, etc. Okay, this is one important thing that you can remember. 15 ampere current is usually used in geysers, coolers, and 5A current is used in bulbs, fans, etc. Now, the advantage of AC over DC. Advantage of AC over DC. What is the advantage? Now, advantage of the AC over DC is, electric power can be transmitted over long distance without much loss of energy. So the electric current that we are transmitting, electric current or power, okay, electric power or current can be transmitted over long distance without much loss of energy. Without much loss of energy. Okay, so this is one important thing that you need to understand. Next, coming to the alternating current. What is alternating current? Okay, now here alternating current, one concept that you need to understand about alternating current is, after every half rotation, the polarity of the current changes. This one you have studied in your chapter, so I will not go in details. Just understand that after every half an hour, after every half rotation, after every half rotation, the polarity of the current changes. Okay, changes. Next concept is about overloading. Now what is overloading and how it occurs? Okay, now overloading occurs when accidental hike in the supply voltage or connecting too many appliances to a single socket. So there are two reasons. First reason is that there is an accidental hike, that is there is a increase in the supply voltage. So therefore at that point of time the overloading increases. So accidental hike in supply voltage. First reason for the overloading. Second reason is connecting too many appliances in a single socket. Connecting too many appliances to a single socket. Okay, this is how the overloading occurs. Next, short circuit. Let's study about the short circuit. Okay, what is short circuit? Now how this short circuit occurs is when live wire and neutral wire come in the direct contact, then the short circuit occurs. So what you need to remember here is, short circuit occurs when live wire come and neutral wire, when live wire and the neutral wire comes in direct contact, then the short circuit occurs. Comes in direct contact, then the short circuit occurs. Next thing that you need to remember here is resistivity, how it increases, when it increases. Okay, resistivity when it increases. Resistivity increases when conductivity decreases. When conductivity decreases. And when the resistivity increases, even the resistance also increases. Okay, so remember this, whenever the resistivity increases, conductivity decreases, and at the same time even the resistance also increases. Now what will happen if the resistivity decreases? It's the opposite. Here it will increase, the conductivity will increase and the resistance will decrease. Okay, so this is one concept that you need to remember. Next, whenever there is more refractive index, okay, when there is a more refractive index, at that point of time the speed of light will decrease. Okay, there is an effect on the speed of light, so speed of light will decrease. Okay, when there is less refractive index, okay, at that point of time the speed of light will increase. Speed of light will increase. So you need to understand that whenever the refractive index is more, the speed of light will decrease, and whenever the refractive index is less, the speed of light will increase. Now, coming to other chapter, the major component of methane gas. The major component of methane gas is, the major component of biogas is methane. Okay, this is one important thing of the chapter, where the major component of biogas is asked. You need to tell that it is methane. And biogas burns without smoke, leaves no residue. So I'll write it down here itself. So actually what happens, whenever the biogas is burned, it burns without smoke. It burns without smoke and it does not leave any residue. So it does not leaves no residue. And the heating capacity is high. Heating capacity is high. Okay, so whenever the biogas is burnt, there is no smoke and it does not leave any residue, and thus the heating capacity is high. Unless like ash or wood or charcoal, whenever we burn all these things, whether it is coal, charcoal or ash or wood, all this they burn with the smoke and they leave residue, whereas the biogas will not leave any residue, neither it produces any smoke. Therefore the heating capacity will become high. The next thing that what we are going to learn is the important formulas or equations. Okay, what are the important formulas or equations in physics? Okay, and at the same time let me also include the SI units of it. Okay, now first important formula that we are going to learn here is I is equal to Q by T. Now what is I here? I is nothing but it is the electric current. Okay, I is nothing but electric current. So whenever electric current is asked, you can use this formula. When electric charge is given, that is Q. Q denotes for electric charge. T denotes for time. Okay, so whenever I is asked, you can use Q by T, and the same way you can use this equation to find out even Q and as well as T. So what will be the SI units? SI units of I will be ampere, that is denoted by A, coulomb, that is denoted by C, and seconds. Time is denoted by seconds, isn't it? So it will be S. So electric charge is denoted by coulomb, time is denoted by second, it is S, and electric current is denoted by ampere, that is A. Okay. Now next, moving on to the second formula, which is important. Second formula that you need to remember is V is equal to W by Q. Okay. Now what is V? V is nothing but it is potential difference. V is potential difference, and Q we know it is electric charge. Here it is given already. So Q is electric charge. Okay, and potential difference is given by volt. The unit is volt, V. Okay, now next, third formula is V is equal to IR. Now this depicts the Ohm's law. Okay, it depicts the Ohm's law. So what you are going to do is, you are going to use this. We know V is potential difference, I is the electric current. So R will be what? R will be resistance, isn't it? R will be resistance, and this will be given the unit, the SI unit will be ohms, isn't it? Next, fourth one, R is equal to P by L by A. Where is it? Resistivity. It is given as resistivity. L is given as length and A is given as area. Okay, so whenever you have to check the resistivity, then you can use this, and the SI unit for this will be ohm meter, and the symbol that you are going to use here is ohm and meter. Okay, so this is your fourth important formula. Next, moving on to the fifth important formula. Fifth important formula is P is equal to V into Q by T, or it can be given as VI, if you remember the first one which I told you. So what is P here? P is equal to power. V is, we have studied earlier, V is nothing but the potential difference, Q is nothing but the electric charge, and T is nothing but the time. So the SI unit for this is given as watt, W-A-T-T, and the symbol that we are going to use is W. Next, Joule's law of heating. H is equal to VIT. Now we know what are V, what is I, and what is T. At the same time, we can use one more formula. H is equal to I square R T, and this is nothing but the Joule's formula. Joule's law of heating. Okay. Next important formula that you are going to use here is 1 by V minus 1 by U is equal to 1 by F. Now this is very important formula that you are going to use, and this is nothing but the Lenz formula. This is called as Lenz formula. Now what is V, what is U, and what is F here? V is nothing but it is the image distance. You need to find out what is the image distance given in the problem. U is nothing but object distance. Object distance, and F is nothing but the focal length. So when these three are given, then you can assume that it is nothing but the Lenz formula. Next, eighth one. M is equal to H prime by H, nothing but V by U. What is H prime here? H prime is nothing but the height of the image. Height of image. H prime is height of image, and whereas H is again height of the object. Height of object. Now this is how you have to use it. Okay. So M is given nothing but a H prime by H. H prime is height of image and H is height of object. Next formula. We have studied this earlier. Again, I'll mention it here. It is the power of lens. P is equal to 1 by F, where P is nothing but the power of lens and F is nothing but the focal length. Okay. So the SI unit of this will be given as power of lens, it is diopt, which is capital D, whereas focal length will always be given in meter, that is denoted by N. Okay, so these are the important formulas that you need to use. And one more important thing that I would like to include here only is the values. What are the values of each unit? Now let's go with 1 kilowatt. Okay, this is nothing but 3.6 into 10 to the power of 6 joules. The value of 1 kWh is nothing but 3.6 into 10 to the power of 6 joules. 1 C is nothing but 6 into 10 to the power of 18 electrons. The values I am telling you. So you can take down this, children. This is important. 1 E is nothing but 1.6 into 10 to the power of minus 19 C. And Speed of light is the value, or no, the this one, speed of light is given as 3 into 10 to the power of 8 meter per second. This is the speed of the light. Clear? Moving to the next part, that is your wire color coding. The different color of wires that you see in an electric circuit. So let us discuss about the wire color coding. Now, what is the color of live wire? Okay, what is the color of live wire? We will see what is the color of the neutral wire, and third, we are going to understand what will be the color of the earthing wire. So live wire is always red in color, and it is always positively charged. Okay, whereas neutral wire, let me change the color of the pen to make you understand better. So it is black. The neutral wire is always black in color, and it always carries negative charges. Okay, whereas the earthing wire, the color of the earthing wire is green. It is green in color, and it's an earthing wire, so it will be neutral. Okay, now let's move on to the rules of, we have studied about the Fleming hands, left hand rule, Fleming's right hand rule. There are some fingers that are being used. So let's study what are the fingers that is used. What does it denote in Fleming's left hand rule, and Fleming's right hand rule. Okay, so these are the three things that you need to understand. Now, whenever I say anything related to Fleming's left hand rule or right hand rule, this always comes under directions. These always show the directions. Okay, so first finger that we are going to learn here is thumb. Now, the thumb finger in Fleming's left hand rule, the direction, it denotes the motion or the force. Okay, so in the Fleming's left hand rule, thumb is direction of the motion or the force, whereas in right hand rule, it only shows the motion. Next is forefinger. Now, forefinger again, forefinger. Now, forefinger, Fleming's left hand rule says it is the direction of magnetic field. Okay, it denotes the direction of the magnetic field, and it's the same even with the Fleming's right hand rule. Even this also shows the magnetic field. Okay, third one, middle finger. Now, thumb is over, forefinger is over. Now, left is the middle finger. Now, the middle finger in the Fleming's left hand rule, it shows the direction of the current flowing. It shows the direction of the current flowing, whereas Fleming's right hand rule, it shows the direction of the induced current. The current which we are allowing it to pass through, that shows that is the direction of the induced current in the Fleming's right hand rule. Okay, now coming to the instruments and their usages. Now, first let's start with the instruments and their usages. Okay, now what is the instrument? First instrument that I would like to start with is battery. Okay, the first instrument is battery. Now, this is a device which is used to maintain potential difference. Okay, it's a device used to maintain potential difference. PD is potential difference. Second instrument that we are going to talk is about ammeter. Now, what is this ammeter? Now, ammeter again, it's a device. It is used to measure current. It is used to measure current. Third is voltmeter. Now, voltmeter is also a device which is used to measure potential difference or voltage. Okay, this voltmeter is used to measure the potential difference or the voltage. Fourth one is variable resistance. What is this variable resistance? Now, variable resistance, it's a component used to regulate current without changing the voltage. Okay, so it's an instrument, it's a component. Now, this is used to regulate current without changing the voltage. Okay, so whenever we have to regulate the current without changing the voltage, then variable resistance is used. Now, fifth one, rheostat. Now, what is rheostat? Rheostat is a device used to change resistance in the current. Okay, so it's a device used to change resistance in the current. Resistance in the circuit. Okay, in the circuit. Next, galvanometer. Now, what is galvanometer? Galvanometer, it's an instrument to check the presence of current, whether the current is there in the circuit or not. To check that, what we use the galvanometer. So, it is the instrument to check the presence of current. Okay. Next component that we are going to use. The next component is, let's introduce fuse. What is fuse? Fuse is nothing but it's a safety device. It's a safety device which is used to protect appliances. Okay, it's a safety device which is used to protect the appliances. Next, commutator. Now, what is this commutator? Commutator is a device that reverses the direction of the current. Reverses the direction of the current. You have studied all this in your chapter, so I am not going in detail. I am just sticking to what is important for your upcoming examinations. Next part is electric motor. Now, what is electric motor? Now, electric motor is a device that converts electrical energy into mechanical energy. Energy to mechanical energy. Okay, this is the electric motor. Now, 10th, electric generator. Now, what is electric generator? Okay, electric generator. I think this will be the last important instrument that we are going to discuss. Electric generator. It's a device that converts mechanical energy into electrical energy. So, it will be the opposite of the electric motor. So, here it converts the mechanical energy into electrical energy. Electric motor will convert the electrical energy to mechanical energy, whereas the electric generator will convert the mechanical energy into electrical energy. Okay. Now, coming to the very important topic of the light chapter. Now, in your textbooks, you have the table 10.4 where it discusses about the nature of the object, position of the object, relative size of the image. There is a big table related to this. So you need to understand that table and you need to by heart that. So this will be a convex lens. Convex lens. What happens when it is at infinity? What happens when it's beyond 2f? What happens when it is at 2f? Okay, between f and 2f, between f1 and so this table 10.4 is there in your textbook. So you have to refer this table 10.4 for your further light preparation. Okay, so this brings to the end of the important concepts of the physics. I have tried to cover everything in this video. If something is missed out, I will definitely cover it up in the next upcoming video. So thank you everyone for joining and all the best for your mock exams and as well as the main exams. See you all in the next video.